Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of general medicine where I make a difficult, boring topic easy to learn. And today I shall be covering one of the infectious diseases which is very common in every country. It happens because of spread because of mosquito bites. Yes, the disease of today is malaria. And I shall be referring to this book of mind maps for general medicine by MedStudyGo. This book contains every topic in a pictorial and a graphic representation wherein every heading has been catered upon to so that you can create a storyline for all of your answers. Every topic contains these headings so that you can memorize the topic easily instead of the boring books which we used to read. To get this book for yourself, you can log on to any e-commerce platform like Amazon, Dentalcart, Flipkart, or the website of MedStudyGo. So let's get into the topic for today. So what is actually malaria? It is basically a protozoal or a parasitic disease wherein the parasite, that is the female Anopheles mosquito, is the main agent for transmitting the infection. So what is malaria? It is a protozoan disease which is spread by the female Anopheles mosquito bite. So protozoan disease which is caused by the Plasmodium parasite and spreads by the infected female mosquito bite, which is the Anopheles mosquito, or even by the transplacental route or via blood transfusion from infectious patient to a normal one. The seasonal variants can be there and it is increased incident during the rainy season because mosquito breeding increases during that season. So more mosquito in the environment increases the risk of getting this infection. Now, how many species are present for this protozoan which can lead to infection? The main species is Plasmodium and there can be certain subspecies for this one. For example, Plasmodium vivax, ovale, Falciparum Malaria and Knowlesi. Now, ovale and vivax are almost similar in nature and cause similar type of infection. Falciparum is the most severe one and can have several complications which can involve the nervous system as well. Now, if we read how this infection spreads or how a simple mosquito bite can get converted to malaria, to learn that we can know the pathophysiology of malaria, which is actually the life cycle of the sporozoites which are present in the mosquito. So the causative agent is the sporozoite. What happens is that when the mosquito bites the human, the sporozoites, they enter the bloodstream and they reach the liver because they have an affinity for the liver cells. In the liver cells, the sporozoites infect the cells and they get replicated in the liver cells itself. So now they're using the liver cell for their own functioning and they replicate inside the liver cell and mature to form a schizont. So second stage over here is schizont and the first stage is sporozoite. Now this schizont is contained in the liver cell itself. When the liver cell is going to contain too many of these cells, it's going to burst. This burst of the liver cell releases around thousands of merozoites into the bloodstream. So now the infectious agent has reached the bloodstream. These merozoites will then invade the red blood cells present in the bloodstream. The red blood cells will now provide the functioning home to these merozoites, and the merozoites, they reproduce asexually, forming female and male gametocytes. So gametocytes is the next stage. This is where female and male gametocyte has been formed and the infection is at its peak stage. This burst of RBC is what leads to the fever and the chills stage of malaria. This is where the symptom starts to appear. Now what happens next is that if a mosquito bites such a patient who contains female and male gametocytes, these gametocytes can be sucked upon by the mosquito itself. This leads to entry of the gametocytes into the mosquito. Now inside the mosquito, these two fertilize. The gametes, they fertilize and this leads to formation of ookinete, which is the next stage. Now ookinete is a stage present in the mosquito. So you need to know which cellular stages are present in the humans and which are present in mosquito, and you must not confuse their names. So ookinete undergoes the changes in the mid-gut of mosquito. So the stages in the body of the human were either in the liver cells or in the RBCs. But in the mosquito, the location of action is mid-gut of mosquito. So the ookinete, it matures and the oocyst is formed, which releases hundreds of sporozoites and they get lodged or they go and stay in the salivary gland of the mosquito. Now, whenever the mosquito is going to bite a human person, the saliva along with these sporozoites is going to get injected into the human body. And this is how the cycle continues of infection. It's not important that this is going to happen in the same person, but this is how you can understand how sporozoites are formed in a mosquito and how these sporozoites convert to the infectious characteristic organism in the human body itself, leading to various symptoms. So this is the whole life cycle of the mosquito Anopheles, and which leads to malaria. Now, after we know what is the pathophysiologic reaction by which the malaria is occurring, we need to know what are the clinical features and how the disease presents. So this disease contains a stage of fever. So obviously it is going to start in cold stage, where fever and chills will be present, followed by the hot stage, wherein the patient is going to feel very hot, sweating is going to be present. And lastly, there is going to be the sweating stage. So these are the three stages which compile the clinical features for the disease of malaria, and these include headache, sweats, nausea, vomiting, fever with chills, fatigue, myalgia, weakness, and even anemia can be present, because RBC number will be decreased because of their destruction. The RBC structure is fine, so it is going to be normocytic and normochromic, because the content of hemoglobin in the RBC is normal, hence normochromic, and the size and the shape of RBC is fine, therefore normocytic. So it's going to be a normocytic, normochromic type of anemia which can be present because of high amount of destruction of RBCs. So these are the clinical features for the disease of malaria. Now, if you know the clinical features, next what we need to know is the investigation or the lab test we need to perform to come to a confirmatory diagnosis for such a patient. So the first and the foremost is going to be CBC. We take the CBC, analyze what amount of cell is decreased or increased. Along with CBC, we can use that same blood sample and create a peripheral smear. Now, the peripheral smear created in a thick layer is going to be more sensitive because it is going to show you more amount of parasites. But in the thin smear, you can actually visualize which type of species of the parasite is present in the cell, because peripheral smear reveals the parasite to be present inside the RBCs. Therefore, this is going to be of diagnostic nature. Then Gemsine Wright stain can be used to stain the peripheral smear and visualize whatever we are looking for. Now, antibodies in the blood can be present against the infection, which is also indicative of the infection, but specific test will be required to rule out what is the infectious agent. Now, rapid diagnostic test like antigen test can be done using dipstick or test strip, which actually tells us which type of antigen is present, which can help us to rule out whether it is bacterial, fungal, viral, or it is protozoal in nature. Then there is going to be anemia, which is normocytic, normochromic in nature. You can visualize it by using CBC testing. And lastly, we use quantitative Buffy coat test, wherein the blood is taken and centrifuged, which forms 3 layers. So the second layer is known as the Buffy coat, which contains WBCs and platelets. Now this layer is also going to show us the parasites which will be present along with the WBCs and platelets. Therefore, Buffy coat test can be done, and it also has good sensitivity. So these are the lab tests and investigations which can be performed to come to a confirmatory diagnosis for malaria. And once that is done and a diagnosis is formed, we need to treat the patient. So the treatment mostly depends on the type of species which is involved, because some species are resistant to some specific drugs. Once the species is known and the drug has been checked for resistance, specific drug can be given for the treatment. So the drug of choice in case of malaria is chloroquine, which is given in a dose of 10 mg of base per kg stat. That is 10 mg is given immediately, followed by 5 mg per kg at 12 hours, 24 hours and 36 hours. So this is going to rapidly decrease the load of the parasite in the body and decrease the fever which is going to be coming again and again. Second drug which is used is Primaquine. It is acting against the hypnozoites which are present at a particular stage. Now the type, which is Plasmodium falciparum, it is the most severe type and requires specific treatment. And that treatment is the usage of artemisinin based combination therapy, which is ACT therapy, wherein 2 drugs, that is artesunate or artemether, can be used. Now, why are they so specific and different? Because these produce free radicals which kill the parasites inside the RBCs itself. So the parasites will be decreased heavily in the body and the severity of the disease can be controlled. Other than this, we can use non-ACTs, which is sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, for the species which are not accepting this drug. And if someone wants a prophylactic treatment, it is mostly suggested for patients who are traveling to cities or countries where malaria is a potent disease. So for individuals traveling to malaria endemic areas, the drugs can be started 1 week prior to reaching that destination, and after 4 weeks from returning, till that time the drug is continued. The drug which can be given is short-term drug is doxycycline and long-term drug is mefloquine. So this is a prophylactic treatment where we are avoiding the occurrence of malaria or being infected by the Plasmodium protozoa. So this is how we can treat a patient of malaria. Now what happens in the cases of Plasmodium falciparum? It is a very severe infection which happens, and it has a shortest incubation period, which is of 12 days. And the gametocytes are crescentic and banana shaped over here, which is characteristic from all other types. Now this is a severe form and can be fatal because of the complications it comes along with. The complications which are present for Plasmodium falciparum involve the nervous system as well. For example, it leads to cerebral malaria, which leads to confusion, coma, and convulsion, the three C's. Then there is Blackwater fever because of hemoglobinuria, wherein hemoglobin is released into the kidneys and into the urine, which is because of intravascular hemolysis. RBCs are getting destructed, so hemoglobin content in the blood is increased. More hemoglobin will be filtered by the kidney, leading to hemoglobin presence in the urine, which leads to Blackwater fever. It's called as Blackwater fever. Then there can be algid malaria, which is a form of hypotensive shock, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and severe malarial anemia can occur. Also, if malaria is present in pregnancy, it can lead to low birth weight of the fetus or even fetal demise. So these are all the complications which are associated with falciparum malaria, indicating the severity of this type of the subspecies of Plasmodium. So it is very important to know which species is actually affecting the patient, because the treatment will completely vary and the severity of the situation will also differ. Now, once we know this, another test which we can use, and something which I'm going to teach you beyond this mind map thing or the mind map book, is the osmotic fragility test. So osmotic fragility, as the term suggests, is when something is becoming fragile because of the change in the osmotic capability. So what happens is that it measures the resistance of the RBCs to the lysis. So the RBCs, they are placed in salt water or maybe hypotonic saline, and the time is recorded at which RBCs burst. So if an RBC is bursting very early in the stage, it means the osmotic fragility has increased. And that is only when the RBC is diseased or infected, which is the case with malaria. So the damaged or rounded RBCs, they lyse early, for example, in case of malaria. So you must know where is the fragility increased and decreased. For example, it is increased in malaria, spherocytosis, AIHA, and G6PD deficiency, because all of these are going to affect the structure of RBC. Whereas it is decreased in cases of thalassemia, iron deficiency anemia, and sickle cell anemia. So this is a supplementary test which can be used to check the quality of the RBCs which is present in the body and can help in the diagnosis also. Other than these things which you need to learn from the aspect of NEET, because if you are a NEET aspirant, only basic information is not going to help you. To solve some questions, you need to know what all questions have been asked in this very topic in the previous years. And for that, I would highly recommend you to just log on to the app of MedStudyGo and check beyond the mind maps notes. These notes contain several points which cover the previous year questions in the NEET exam from this topic in the app. For example, you can read about Schuffner's dots, and even you can read about some species-specific smear findings. For example, in Plasmodium vivax and ovale, the findings are almost similar. So Schuffner dots are going to be present, which is stippling is present in the cells. And Plasmodium falciparum shows morars, clefts, or dots. So you need to know these 2-3 types of dots or stippling which is present, because this can come easily as an MCQ question. And lastly, in Plasmodium malariae, there is Zyman stippling, which is band form of trophozoites. If you will know these pointers, it will become very easy for you to solve questions which are going to be directly asked in the exam. Now, if you have prepared all the 18-19 subjects, it can become very difficult to remember 3 specific terms. But if you read them again and again on the app and you revise this topic and mark these points, it will become easier for you to solve questions. And once you're done by reading any topic, I would recommend you to solve some questions so that you can test as to what you have learned and is that enough for you or not. For example, you can solve some MCQs and even flashcards. For flashcards, I have an example over here. What is cerebral malaria? So as we read, it is a complication in Plasmodium falciparum wherein the patient complains of coma, seizures and confusion. So if you just flip over the question, you can easily view the answer over here. Now, if we talk about an MCQ, Schuffner's dots on the peripheral blood film are characteristic of. So this is something which has been asked from the beyond the mind map thing. So the answer is going to be malaria. If you just flip it over, you'll view the answer along with a detailed explanation as to why other options are not the correct answer. So the app I'm talking about is this one, which is the app of MedStudyGo. You can log on to it for iOS as well as Android, visualize all the resources available and keep checking it out for every topic which you are studying, be it medicine or any other one. If you like this video and would like to view more such videos for all the topics of medicine and other subjects, do subscribe this channel, like this video while you're at it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.